Good evening and welcome to the Dr. Maria Show. As you know, I live in the great state of New Hampshire and I film here in New Hampshire. So I am always keeping an eye on what is going on in my state. And I was shocked to find out that probably the Chinese Communist Party, but a Chinese company has purchased an old factory in Nashua, New Hampshire, that's just south of me here in Manchester. Not only that, they ended up purchasing an abandoned college, Daniel Webster College. Just listen to this report.
Nashua, New Hampshire, once a hub for textile manufacturing, now a possible hub for the Chinese.
And you have the airport here, you have a water supply that they're looking to capture.
Communist China owning a building like this.
The latest Chinese concern is what's going here. China's largest beverage company, called Nung Fu, bought this industrial site next to the Penachuk water system where the area's drinking water comes from. Nung Fu would use the local water for their beverage plant.
Being tied into our Penachuk water system and taking millions of gallons a day of drinking water from the citizens of Nashua is very concerning.
What locals find most suspicious is what Nung Fu paid for the site. $67 million, more than 4 times the assessed value of just $15 million.
Were there any public meetings or was there any sort of outreach? Did anyone know what was happening?
No, not at all. This seems to be kind of like the color of this building. This is done very stealthy.
So this is the massive site that Nung Fu bought. The building is pretty much abandoned. We can't fly the drone because it's so close to the airport, but I'm going to drive around the building to show you just how big it is.
It's 337,000 square feet, sitting on 23 acres of land. And it's very close to the Nashua airport, several defense contractors, and an FAA control center. The expansion in Nashua, New Hampshire goes beyond just Nung Fu.
Something else strange, just a couple of miles from where we were, where the Chinese company purchased that building, is this abandoned college, Daniel Webster College. It's a 50-acre site. And it was also purchased by a Chinese investor about 7 years ago for $14 million. Much of the campus remains totally abandoned.
The mayor of Nashua tells me that Chinese investor bought the college campus for double what it was worth. And now Nung Fu has come to town, paying 4 times the appraised value. He isn't against the project, but admits it's strange.
If the land was valued at like $15 million and they paid $67 million, I guess I'm still trying.
It's very weird. Why they would do that, I have no idea.
I mean, have you heard anything?
No. It's very puzzling as to why that would happen.
I'm shocked that here in New Hampshire, we don't have safeguards against especially our known enemy, the Chinese Communist Party. We all remember the spy balloons, right? President Biden was in office January 28th to February 4th, 2023. Those spy balloons were allowed to hover over our military sites. And it was real-time footage going back to China. It wasn't like these spy balloons were getting information and then when they go back to China, they download the information. It was real time. And the Biden administration didn't do anything about it until it was off the coast of the United States. Now, a lot of people think it's because Biden was in bed with the communist Chinese. But I'm really scared. How about our farmland? Look at this graphic of how much farmland the Chinese Communist Party, and we say Chinese Communist Party because it is a belief. If anybody is of wealth in China, they have some connection or deep ties to the Communist Chinese Party. Now, the Chinese own about 380,000 acres of American land, farmland, timber. But believe it or not, I have to be true to you, Canada and Canadian investors own a heck of a lot more, over 12 million, like 12,845,210 acres, mainly timber. But shouldn't we in the United States have safeguards? Shouldn't American land be primarily for Americans? Maybe I'm a little naive about that. So happy to have Gordon Chang with us tonight. Gordon is a well-respected author of many books. He's on the speaking circuit internationally. And when you want to know what's in the mind of the Chinese Communist Party, you go to Gordon Chang. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maria.
Gordon, I have to admit, I wear my heart on my sleeve and everybody knows how I feel about everything. I am nervous. I was nervous when things were happening in other parts of the country, but this is my backyard now. Do you think there's some kind of strategy here?
Well, overall, in terms of the Communist Party, yes, there is strategy, and that is to take down the United States. And we have seen evidence of an attack on American agriculture. But, when we're talking about this New Hampshire investment, now paying 4 times the assessed value is suspicious. Of course, we don't know what's in the minds of the people who bought this. And one could say, well, maybe it's just capital flight. Possible. But we also know that Chinese have been buying land for very malicious purposes. So, for instance, in Oklahoma, there are credible reports that the Chinese have been using agricultural land to base human trafficking operations. All over the U.S., they're using agricultural land for illegal marijuana grows, including the state next to yours, Maine, where there's a lot of that going on. We have suspicions of China using land for espionage purposes. But, ultimately, there's a lot of concern, but we got to remember that no American can buy a square inch in China. So the question is, why are we allowing the Chinese to buy square miles of our land? Until we get to the bottom of this, we should not permit Chinese nationals or Chinese entities to own farm or ranch land in the United States.
I know initially there was a committee after the whole spy balloon debacle putting together, and it was federal government. I don't know whatever came out of that. I don't know if there's truly legislation on limiting the Chinese party from buying, or Chinese billionaires from buying our property. Are you aware of any legislation?
Well, Brooke Rollins, the Agriculture Secretary, this month talked about a National Farm Security Action Plan, and that would prevent Chinese from owning farmland near sensitive sites. Also, she also raised the possibility of taking back land that Chinese nationals and entities own. Some states, such as Florida, Texas, Montana, have laws about Chinese acquisitions of farm and ranch land. And also, when we look at all of this, you were referring to the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. This became really important because a Chinese food processor, Food Feng, wanted to buy from 12 miles from the Grand Forks Air Force Base, where they have sensitive satellite and drone uplinks. They wanted to build a $300 million food processing plant. What the federal government found out, and this was during the Biden administration, was that the CFIUS, Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, that's an interagency task group led by the Treasury Department, that CFIUS rules did not prohibit Fu Feng from actually buying that land and operating a food processing plant. Now, the rules were hastily changed, and Fu Feng was not allowed to build that plant, which is good. But we got to remember that the rules that we have on prohibiting Chinese parties from owning land really are not comprehensive. And so we need to have comprehensive prohibitions.
I agree with you. And we've seen such nefarious type activity. We've seen Chinese nationals posing as tourists trying to get on our military bases. I mean, it's in the literature. This is factual things. We saw just recently 2 students in Michigan trying to take in and perhaps work on, I think it was a fungus, if I recall correctly. We don't know what they were going to do with that. It seems like we have to keep shaking the tree to say, this is not right. Something's going on here. There's a bigger strategy, and they seem to be in it for the long haul. They go a little bit, a little bit, a little bit until, my God, they're all around us.
Yes, you're referring to last month. There were 3 Chinese nationals charged with trying to smuggle in biological agents into the U.S. The first 2 of them were researchers at the University of Michigan, and they were trying to bring in a fungus. This caused blight for crops like wheat, corn, grain. Also would affect livestock and humans. Now, this fungus is already in the United States. And the question is, why would these researchers risk their careers to bring in something that was already here? And I think the answer is, it wasn't already here. Probably they were trying to bring in something that was genetically modified to make it more dangerous to agriculture. And if Chinese parties own land, it would make it much easier for them to introduce a modified fungus into the US and therefore attack our agriculture. So this was a biological weapons attack in all probability, a weapon of mass destruction, an attack on the United States. And you raise an important issue here, and that is we are being overwhelmed. And this was very clear when you go back to the testimony of Christopher Wray when he was director of the FBI. He was talking about this all the time, about how the Chinese were overwhelming the law enforcement resources of the federal government. And we know that they're overwhelming the law enforcement resources of states and localities. They're overwhelming governments at all levels, institutions, you name it. And until we can figure this out, we need to eliminate these links of the Communist Party, of China, to our society. Maybe at some point we'll be able to end up with a relationship where we can coexist, but we're not right now, because right now the Chinese are taking over our country and we've got to stop it on an emergency basis.
And a little known fact about New Hampshire, we have all these little industry that have contracts, defense contracts with the United States government. I don't even want to mention them on air because I'm nervous that the CCP is taking notes, although they probably already know about them. But we also have a new space force in one of our local towns, a center for our Space Force activities. So I feel like we are becoming a target for something different. The farmland, I saw it in 2 different ways. I saw it definitely, they either want to manipulate the agriculture, can use it against us. They want to feed their own at home. But of course, I worry about them poisoning us. But I see in Maine, definitely a lot of farmland. But I see New Hampshire as something different. People don't understand how we're connected with technology, high-level government contracts. So I feel like they have their eye on us for other reasons. And I don't know what to do. I know I'm going to make a phone call to our governor tomorrow because I'm concerned. Just even the price that they paid for these 2 properties, both 4 times what they were worth. Who would do that? A savvy business person certainly wouldn't do that.
No, they certainly wouldn't. I mean, as I said, the benign explanation is it's capital flight. But the point is we don't know. And until we know, we just got to prohibit this. We've got to take back that these purchases. You know, we can expropriate it, pay fair market value, and that's perfectly fine under our system. But also, Dr. Maria, you know that if Chinese commit crimes on land, the federal government can forfeit the land. In other words, seize it without compensation. That's constitutionally permissible. So whether we pay compensation or not, we need to take back our land. And until we can figure out what's going on, we need to do this on an emergency basis.
Yeah, when I learned that Canada, it's funny, one of the articles I read almost tried to justify, well, China doesn't own as much land as Canada. Canada is not our enemy. I still would like America to own more of our land than anybody else. And I understand having investors. I get it. But China is not to be trusted. President Xi
And also,
Jinping. Oh, go ahead, please.
yeah, and also we have figures on the amount of farmland and ranch land owned by the Chinese, but the Chinese often don't report this as they're required to do under federal statutes. So probably they own a lot more land than those figures suggest. And that means we've got a bigger problem than we think we do.
Here is a post from Congressman Ben Klein, and we'll put that up on the screen. And he says, I've been sounding the alarm on the threat the Chinese Communist Party poses to American agriculture and our national security. You might not see it every day, but right here in our Commonwealth, the CCP owns critical farmland. Thanks to Secretary Rollins and the USDA's 7-point National Farm Security Action Plan, steps are being taken to ensure American farmland is owned by Americans, not the CCP. And that's exactly what you were saying a few minutes ago. Gordon, I learned so much from you every time you're on. Like I was godsmacked the time I had you on. We were talking about bioweapons. And I happened under the Bush administration, we were being trained like crazy. Hospital CEO, we were really looking at bioweapons, chemical weapons, how to treat them. You know, we were stockpiling all kinds of medications everywhere. And you told me that right now in the Wuhan lab, they are working with Ebola. I just don't, I feel sometimes that, do we know it? Is our federal government aware of it? Is our federal government so busy and big that they're not prioritizing the threat of these bioweapons? It's not just China. I recognize that. And I recognize my data might be a little old because I'm talking about the Bush administration. But then we absolutely hardcore evidence of 26 countries at that time, I'm sure it's much more, were working with bioweapons. Why do you work with bioweapons? To hurt your enemy. What are some of the suggestions? What do we do? Gordon, what do we do?
Well, on Ebola, the reason why that is relevant is because in December 2022, an alert building inspector in Reedley, California, near Fresno in the Central Valley, stumbled upon a secret Chinese biological weapons lab. And inside, according to the official count, there were at least 20 pathogens, and one of them was for Ebola. And we know that Ebola is being studied at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, as you just mentioned, Dr. Maria. So, yeah, we've got to be extremely concerned. And I'm sure that that lab that was found was not the only one in the United States. So China probably has other secret facilities scattered elsewhere. And that's why I feel that until we get a handle on this, we need to have drastic action to protect ourselves, because we just don't know what's out there. We don't know the intention of people who are buying this land. And so until we do, we have to make sure that they don't own this land and that we can control this relationship, because China declared us to be its enemy. And we have to take into account their maliciousness and their ruthlessness and their utter determination to take down our society.
Absolutely. What are you up to nowadays, Gordon? Are you doing a lot of speeches? What's going on with your life?
Well, the thing that I'm really concerned about is, for instance, the turmoil at the top of the Chinese political system and whether that is going to result in China lashing out, for instance, attacking some neighbor or even the United States. In the United States, as you point out, Dr. Maria, there are these networks of Chinese operatives, agents, and soldiers, and they've been trying to intrude in our military bases. They've been engaged in illicit surveillance, all sorts of activities that show that they are planning to attack. They're studying our patterns, looking for vulnerabilities, and I believe that they are at a high degree of readiness. So I believe that the number one priority of the federal government should be to break up these Chinese networks that are in our country at this moment.
Gordon, I always try to look at process. Does that fall under FBI, Department of Homeland Security? Like, what are the agencies? And maybe should be collaboration between agencies as well. But what is the primary agency that needs to investigate and break up these networks?
I would imagine it's FBI working very closely with Homeland Security and maybe even with the CIA because we're talking about a foreign enemy. Though the CIA can't operate on our soil, they can certainly help the FBI with leads about what's happening beyond our borders. So it needs to be a whole of government effort because there's a lot of investigative capability in the federal government. But as we learned in the aftermath of 9/11, these agencies didn't really talk to each other. And that's why we ended up with the Director of National Intelligence taking the 22 or so constituent elements of the intelligence community and stitching them together under one umbrella. But we know now there's still problems of coordination. So it will take all of these groups working together, primarily, I guess, under the lead of the FBI.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate that. And we know there's also what's called Chinese police stations. I recall when I first discovered this, and I'm sure they were longer than 5 years ago, but I first discovered it 5 years ago. And I'm like, really, a Chinese station? They were talking about the one in New York that most everybody knew about, except, I was just learning it. I was on a radio show there called Uncovering the Truth. So I wanted to uncover the truth about these Chinese substations. And they primarily would go after American citizens here. Maybe they aren't quite a citizen or are a citizen, but they're of Chinese descent. And they would try to turn them, if you will, to become spies against the American government. One plan is to have a Chinese person go to protests that are seemingly against the CCP, and they ingratiate themselves to the people there, and then they're all the time gathering information. And the one in New York, and I'm sure there's multiple in New York, when it was discovered and hit the headlines, they talked about how they're in other major cities. And this is what I mean about coordination. Does it mean we took down the other ones? And it may be this is on our government's radar. We just don't know about it. I don't know, but I think the more we educate the public and the more the public's eye is on it, that we as citizens can help our federal agencies with information. But do you know anything more about those Chinese substations?
Yeah, as you point out, the FBI closed the one in Chinatown. But according to the New York Post and Daily Caller reporting, there are at least 7 and perhaps as many as 9 more of them in the United States across our country. The cities were listed by both of those publications, and they're still operating. And as you say, they go after people of Chinese descent, whether they are Chinese nationals, green card holders, or even U.S. citizens. Because what they do is they basically say, well, look, we'll intimidate, we will coerce and make life difficult for your relatives back in China. So they're very effective at it, and we need to close these down. This is our country, after all. I mean, why do we permit this? And there's so many more arms of the Chinese regime in our country that we know about. We know they're engaged in activities which are both illegal and violate our sovereignty, and we haven't stopped them from doing it. So this is on us. This is our country. We don't have to put up with this.
God bless the USA, and God bless Gordon Chang and your lovely wife. I thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Maria.
Wow, a lot to think about, and it's scary. Again, when I reported on the CCP and their activities, and especially in the United States, trying to get on our military bases, I reported kind of with concern in facts, but when it hit my own backyard in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I've been concerned about the proximity of Maine as well. Maine, there's CCP all over Maine, believe it or not. I think that, this is a theory, that they think they can be under the radar in these rural communities. I certainly don't hear a lot from people from Maine, but this thing that's going on in Nashua, New Hampshire has got people up in arms in New Hampshire, and we want our governor to take a look at it. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, a disturbing trend of kidnappings. Stay with me.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at nirvantahealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to nirvantahealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Welcome back. I'm always interested in what was going on at our border, the crimes that came across that border, other crimes within the United States. I am personally negatively affected by crimes against children. So I keep that banner going, and I love it that the current FBI is looking for all these missing children, especially the missing 300,000 that came through that southern border unaccompanied by any family member. But there's something strange happening. Kidnappings, and I mean right off the street in broad daylight. And these aren't kidnappings that we see in the movies that you kidnap somebody of financial means and you call the family and you want to extort money. These are typically kidnapping for sexual deviation against primarily children and young women. And I could spend an hour literally in this digital age showing you clip after clip of what is being picked up on storefront cameras, people's Ring cameras. I do have a lot to show you, and it's just so it sinks in how we have a national problem. Let's look at this first clip of a teenager, a Florida teenager who fought back.
You see her fighting for her life and screaming at the top of her lungs for help. Maureen says in this moment, she was terrified the suspect was going to hurt her. All she was thinking of was, I have to get away. And eventually, she did.
My parents had always taught me that whenever you're in any sort of danger, you always fight back. I hope this can show other women and young females like myself that you can fight back and that it doesn't matter how small you are.
Police later arrested 31-year-old Theodore Tunitador. He was initially stopped because he was driving a stolen truck, but he's now charged with kidnapping, robbery, and grand theft auto. And authorities are really praising Maureen's reaction to the attack. They say because she fought back so hard and was drawing so much attention to the situation, she likely prevented this from having a much more serious outcome.
I can't underscore that enough to any persons, especially young people. A lot of times these monsters intimidate young people and they say, if you scream, I'm going to kill your parents. Well, if you're 8, 9, 10 years old, you believe that to be true. And they intimidate the person to be submissive because it's out of fear, intense fear. But I'm telling you, the likelihood that you come out of that truck alive or wherever they're going to bring you is pretty nil. So you got to fight with everything you have, even if they say they have a gun or a knife. I'm very passionate about that because when I've studied a lot of these, especially children being kidnapped, they go along with the person. Sometimes they do the old tricking to the children. I have puppies in my car. In this day and age, one of the things that the FBI says they use is, I got Xbox, an extra Xbox. Would you like it? Or I have a candy. You know, you go in an area where you might think the children are a little bit hungry or they don't have the luxury of getting ice cream, and you use that. They are manipulative, sadistic people. So we have to start teaching our children to use skills to get attention, to be able to escape. And I hate that. I hate that. When I think of the way I grew up, we all walked the streets. You know, you went to your friend's house. I used to take my bike all the way across town. We never had that fear. And then it started creeping in of all these sex abuse cases in the 80s and daycare and other things. And we've kind of brought our children away from thankfully, any danger. But what has happened? They're leading sedentary lives, and they don't learn those skills of getting along with other people, how to talk to people, doing sports together, just pick up sports. But here is another case, clip 3.
This morning, as kids across the country head back to school, a warning for parents everywhere.
Get your mom, get your mom, get your mom. I heard screaming and I thought, and I could hear commotion outside.
You see in this door camera video first obtained by ABC affiliate WFAA, the moment apparent kidnappers tried to take a group of 9-year-old boys. Gina Skolnick, the mother of 2 of the boys, telling us her kids were having a play date at her house when 2 vehicles pulled up near them. Her son Zachary sounding the alarm.
So we get onto the sidewalk and we try to skip past, and I hear the drivers telling my friends to get into their car.
The boys taking off, running and screaming.
I was the first one at the door screaming, someone's trying to kidnap us. Someone's trying to kidnap me!
Moments later, you see someone in a white t-shirt and shorts get out of a white SUV, running after her son Jonathan. Jonathan says the man was calling to him, trying to lure him into the SUV.
He said, there's a football player in the back of the car. And then he said, get in the back of the car. And I said, I'm sorry, I look up the strangers, and I ran away.
The suspect noticing Skolnick with a cell phone camera in her hand, leaving the scene, but not before she was able to get a picture of the license plate. And just miles away earlier that morning, another near kidnapping caught on camera. In this security video, you see a teenage girl hiding behind a neighbor's car, trying to avoid being taken by a man. That car belongs to Shane Burke, who says the teenager came to his door for help.
She said that somebody that she didn't know had been following her, kind of gawking at her, staring at her, making her feel uncomfortable. She was extremely shook up.
Experts encouraging parents to talk to their kids about safety as a new school year begins.
Children should be very wary of strangers that are in a car approaching them. We know that the vast majority of attempted abductions and successful abductions use a vehicle. We know that the perpetrators are using the same lures, like asking for directions, looking for a lost puppy, or having candy. And so parents need to be talking to their children about identifying these risky situations and knowing how to avoid them.
The brothers with a message to other children.
Just scream. We are very lucky and we're very grateful.
How horrifying. Young kids just playing on their front lawn, and it looks like a very residential area, right? You wouldn't expect that in 2 cars. So this was a coordinated effort, but brazen, in broad daylight, and they would have tried to take as many boys. I look back on some of the cases where we never found out what happened to these children. in that they start looking for particular kids or following particular kids. In some of these sex rings, they want 8 or 9-year-old boys. So they go searching for that age of boys or little girls. It's a sickness. And what happened through our border should have horrified every human being who has a soul. All of these unaccompanied minors, they say around 300,000 of them, through in NGOs, they would have a name of somebody. Oh, put me with Aunt Sue in Michigan. And literally, we didn't vet the person at the other end. We just sent them there. And then when people went to follow up, there's nobody named Aunt Sue. The kid is not to be found. It's sick. And it's of 2 reasons, both really bad. Labor camps, like we saw in California, there were 14 minors working in that marijuana field that ICE raided, where there was child molesters, kidnappers, rapists working there as well, illegal aliens, but these 14 kids were rescued. The FBI also rescued about 10,000 other children from other rings, but there's still a lot more missing. And we've become a tourist area. Can you believe it? We learned, in the last 20 years, Bangkok, Thailand was like one of those big major sites where really bad people would fly in to have sex with children. And now the United States is one of those major destinations. And I feel like sometimes it's individual, right? You're kidnapping that kid to do really bad things and then kill the kid on your own just because you're a sick devil. And other times, I think it's because they want to put them in these rings because they make money off of these children. They say one child is worth about $250,000 a year, and they can sell them multiple times a day. And I'm thinking now that their access through the border is dried up, how are they going to make money? They got to take them off the streets. It's a theory, but it's a problem. Again, I could go on all day showing you what we even have on video. What about the places that don't have video? Let's watch clip 5.
This is the terrifying moment that a 16-year-old Pennsylvania girl says a man started following her.
I kept on hearing this guy, but I was just like, it sounds like an older man. I don't think an older man would approach me that way. And he had finally ran up to me.
In this surveillance video obtained by our station WPVI, Ariana Macmillan was walking along a busy road outside Philadelphia when she says this man began walking closer and closer to her, making inappropriate comments.
He did have a very large bottle of liquor in his hand, and in my eyes, I saw that as a weapon. He pushes me a little bit. We better start walking. And in this moment, I had a sense of panic in my brain that I needed to do something immediately.
The teen, scared, made a quick decision, running to a nearby shop.
I just was like, there's a woman there and I'm going to run to her. I saw like someone had like a sign in like their yard or something that said something about someone named Rachel. So the name, I just went, Aunt Rachel, is that you?
It distracted whatever that gentleman was trying to do.
Aunt Rachel, actually Tina Moss, a shop owner, saw her running toward her, immediately played along, taking the girl inside her store with her husband, Bill.
He followed her directly from the store to the window and banged on the glass.
They called the police. And once they came, he still was banging on the doors and wasn't stopping, and they were trying to arrest him.
The man now charged with stalking and harassment. Christina Pino grateful to those store owners who helped her daughter, visiting the shop to meet the couple.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and her mom calling those store owners her daughter's guardian angels.
I have chills. To me, every child is our child, right? As adults, we have to do whatever we can to protect the innocent, because that is the downfall of society. We saw it under the Biden administration when they were hailing killing a baby after it was born, killing a baby up to 9 months. It was like there was no value to innocence. And then California, who wanted to and did decrease the jail time for pedophiles who molested or raped a child. Are you kidding me? I can tell you as a healthcare provider, there is no cure for pedophilia, no amount of treatment. They have to be locked up for the rest of their lives. Again, there are FBI statistics on what's called recidivism. So one child molester is going to molest up to 100 children. They put themselves into areas of trust. Bus driver, teacher, priest, always have to be suspicious. But these are blatant kidnappings during the day. I watched another clip of a guy just scooping up a girl. I think she was around 8 years old. Unfortunately, he was able to do very terrible things to her, but within hours, they went to the man's house and rescued the child. But she's going to have to live with that disgusting, disgusting trauma that happened to her for the rest of her life. It's like being in prison forever, and she was just an innocent child. But I think about that, of these small girls. You can literally just be taken physically, and she was kicking and screaming, but he was still able to get her into his home. But I am so happy that people are willing to try to protect others. It's funny, when I was taking a psychology class, 30 some odd years ago, one of the cases that we looked at was, I believe it was 1964, Kitty Genevieve's in New York. She was stabbed multiple times, multiple witnesses, but nobody went out to try to help her. And there was time to intervene and save this woman's life. So we had massive discussions. Why is it? Are you that afraid? Or what happens that you just don't get involved? We never want that, right? We always have to get involved to do the right thing. And here in New York City, we see people helping another kidnapping attempt, clip 6. I know it's a little difficult to see, but a man, a very, very tall man, all in white, literally kept trying to lift up this girl, and she just screamed and screamed and then tried to make an escape. And he was literally going to chase her. And men intervened. Thank you, men. Men, we always thought of, right? We grew up that a man is going to protect you. A father, a brother, a strange man will protect a person of a weaker sex because it's the right thing to do. God knows what would have happened to these people. We would have never seen them again. How about this one? That's clip 7.
2 young kids are safe after bystanders prevented a man from driving away with them.
Yeah, the Jacksonville, Florida Sheriff's Office released this security footage. This was outside a DMV last month, and it captures the moment multiple people had to rush in and help a mother who was trying to pull her 2-year-old and 6-month-old children out of the back seat of a man's car. She and one of the children were even dragged through the parking lot. A 26-year-old suspect was later arrested.
So this one, you have to take it into context. I believe it was a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old were in that van. Now, did the person mean to kidnap the children, or was it a carjacking? It was like a minivan. I don't know if it was a carjacking. I don't know. But you can see the mom hanging on. That's her life, right? Those 2 kids. And people came and rallied to the rescue. But why are all these kidnappings? Why all this increase in sex crimes against women and children? There is a bad thing, a bad element that is happening here. We have to teach our young people how to protect themselves. I can't stand it though. I want them to feel free as a youngster, to just smell the grass, play kickball and not have to worry. But unfortunately, that is not reality. And we need this Trump administration, who want to protect all of us, to really, I don't care what it takes. I don't care if my tax dollars are spent with hiring more agents, more law enforcement, but I want these kids to be protected. I want these women to be protected. It is just a scary thing that I am shocked. And here we go. We're going to show you one more, clip 9.
Tonight, chilling video capturing the attempted kidnapping of an 11-year-old girl in Los Angeles. Police say video shows a suspect cornering the young girl here, grabbing her, trying to take her away. A 17-year-old witness yelling at the suspect, "Leave her alone." The girl then escaped, and tonight authorities have arrested the suspect.
Isn't it crazy? I don't have any more words. I would think you're sitting there watching my show saying, holy macaroni. What is happening? Again, these are in broad daylight. They're just going and picking up these little girls. But you notice they'll flee if people intervene. So please start educating your neighborhood kids, your own kids. Go to the schools, work with your law enforcement. I like it when there's conclusion, right? When we catch these perpetrators, because I hope to get them, as you do, off the streets. Too many of these, yes, people intervened and they run away, but we never know who they are. They're probably attempting a kidnapping somewhere else. And please go to the website for missing and exploited children. You wouldn't believe the amount of missing children in this country. It is just shameful. So it was great when we were able to catch these 5 individuals who were caught kidnapping a little girl. But guess what? They're illegal aliens, exactly what ICE wants to get rid of on our streets. Clip 10.
Roll your window down now! Roll it down! Roll it down now! Roll it down! Roll it down! Every single one of them! Hands up! Everybody hands up! Everybody hands up! Who's in the back? Okay. All right. Everybody keep their hands up. Hear me?
Yeah, what happened?
Okay. Well, I'm Trooper Sapp. We're doing an investigative stop, okay? Anybody got ID?
Yeah.
Are you? How old are you? You're 14? Okay. All right. Don't anybody move. Jeff, you got them? Yep. Okay. Start opening the door. You got ID? Give me ID. ID. ID.
No, put your hands.
Yeah, put your hands up. Hands. Thank you. What about you, sir? You driver. Okay, you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more ID. Yeah, ID?
I got it.
You got it? Okay. All right. I'm gonna pull her out. Okay. You're gonna need to come out and open that seat up. Yep. No. Nope. Step out, miss. 212 Macon. We've got her. I don't know if we need to go ahead and start putting the handcuffs on people. I don't know where John's at. Hey, Jeff? I think we need to start putting handcuffs on people right now. And I've only got one on me. I think we need to start handcuffing everybody. And I don't know where John went. Step out. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Step out. Put your hands behind your back. See. Turn around. Turn around. Why don't you come over here? Come here. Sit down. All right. You come with me. Honey, what are you doing with these guys? Go ahead and sit there.
What was she doing with them? She was kidnapped. Come to find out. I have to say, one thing that irritates me about this video is that police officer announces she's only got one handcuff. Don't tell him. The passenger looked like he wanted to escape or do something different. But anyways, and I promised you only one more, but I do have another one where a dramatic rescue, because again, showing why we need law enforcement. And these crazy lunatic far left Democrats who talk about defunding the police. Anyways, here we go. Clip 11.
As you can see, there is a smile on my face. I'm here to report that Salem has been found safe.
That's Buddy Calzada of the Fort Worth Police Department joyfully announcing that 8-year-old Salem Sabaka had been found safe at a hotel. Now, this comes after the little girl was abducted on Saturday night in Texas.
Salem has since been reunited with her family after being taken to a local hospital. 51-year-old suspect Michael Webb has been arrested and faces charges of aggravated kidnapping. Police say he is not related to the little girl. An attorney who might speak on Webb's behalf was not immediately identified.
According to Dallas news outlet KTVT, Salem had been walking with her mother when a car approached them and a man grabbed her. Salem's mother tried to jump inside the vehicle to save her, but the man pushed her out and drove off. There's actually surveillance video of the vehicle speeding off and Salem's mother falling to the ground. Just really dramatic, that story in all ways of how that allegedly played out. And man, I can't imagine as a parent, that moment is horrifying. Yeah.
Yes, police say detectives are still investigating 2 different crime scenes, are waiting to release any additional information. During the press briefing, Calzada thanked 2 members of a local church who saw the vehicle allegedly involved in the kidnapping. This was after police issued an Amber Alert for Salem on social media. Police are calling those 2 people heroes.
I don't need to belabor this subject anymore. You know, it's a heightened issue here in the United States right now. Keep your eyes open. If you're a civic-minded individual, again, try to work partner with law enforcement to bring education to the school systems, to the Ys, wherever you can. It's a disturbing trend. Well, an off-duty Customs and Border Patrol officer was in New York City having an evening when up on a little motorcycle comes 2 individuals to rob him. Let's look at clip 13.
This is the moment DHS says an off-duty Customs and Border Protection officer is ambushed and shot late Saturday by a man with a deportation order. Authorities believe 2 men who approached on a scooter were attempting to rob the 42-year-old officer who was in a park with a friend. 2 senior law enforcement sources say it appears to be a random encounter. The alleged shooter, identified by police as Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez of the Dominican Republic. New York City's police commissioner says he approached the officer from behind, and that's when the officer drew his service weapon.
The perp fired first, and an exchange of gunfire followed. The officer was struck in the forearm and in the face.
Mora Nunez was taken.
And we have a little graphic here of Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez and what he is being charged with. There's also a timeline of his arrest. This is not a Boy Scout. This guy is an illegal alien with a bad rap sheet that started in Massachusetts. But because of Massachusetts soft on crime, just like New York, he was let out on the streets. Now, they did get his partner in crime, the other person who was on the motorcycle. I don't have any new details on that. Thank God the off-duty CBP officer is going to make it, but he was literally shot in the face. And thank the Lord, he is going to survive. I just want to put up this last graphic as we end the show, looking at the illegal aliens that were released under the Biden administration versus the Trump administration. It is startling. Under the Biden administration, almost 2 million illegal aliens were released into our country. That means these are not the gotaways. These are ones that had some kind of contact. But the Biden administration said, yeah, you're free to roam around our country. And, you know, we may give you a court date, but we know you're not going to show up. And look at Trump's second term. Seven people released versus 2 million. Who really thinks about safety in America? Well, thank you for joining the show tonight. Please take all what I said about kidnappings to educate your neighbors. Show them my show. Show them the clips. We'll be back with you on Wednesday evening.